Dear friends, today's life message that we want to share with you is a heart-touching story about a woman who rescued a boy and the billionaire who repaid her kindness. One scorching summer afternoon, a river shimmered under the blazing sun as it wound through a village near a forest. On a dusty path, a frail woman in her 40s, burdened by life's struggles, walked slowly toward her humble thatched house. She was carrying a small sack of sweet potatoes, her meager earnings from a hard day's work. Her name wasn't known to everyone, but she was a woman of quiet strength, a laborer who had long accepted life's challenges. Suddenly, the tranquility of the evening was shattered by a faint, desperate cry for help. Startled, she turned her gaze toward the river. Her heart raced as she spotted a small figure flailing helplessly against the strong current. Without hesitation, she dropped the bag of potatoes and rushed toward the riverbank. The water was icy and swift, and though she was not a strong swimmer, her fear for her own life was overshadowed by the urgency of saving the child. Summoning every ounce of her strength, she waded into the current and grasped the boy's shirt, pulling him back toward the safety of the shore. By the time she reached land, her body was trembling, drenched, and exhausted. Yet relief flooded her as she saw the boy stir faintly. His pale face and trembling lips reflected the chilling ordeal he had endured. Gently, she whispered, "You're safe now. Don't be afraid." Though the boy said nothing, his wide, tear-filled eyes clung to her as she wrapped him in her worn scarf and carried him back to her modest home. Along the way, villagers whispered among themselves. "She's taken in trouble again," one woman muttered. "She can barely feed herself. What's she thinking bringing a child into her home?" The woman didn't respond to the murmurs. Instead, she focused on the fragile boy in her arms. When they reached her small house, she kindled a fire to warm him. Stroking his hair softly, she asked, "What's your name? Where is your family?" The boy shook his head silently, his eyes fear and confusion. "If you can't remember," she said gently, "stay here with me. I'll call you to be my son. How does that sound?" The boy nodded, his trust in her shining through his cautious gaze. From that day on, she became his caretaker of everything. Life became harder for the woman. She took on extra work in the fields, swept the market stalls, and endured long, grueling hours just to put food on their small wooden table. But she never let the boy go hungry. To her, he was not just a child she had saved. He was her purpose, her hope, and the family she never had. Each morning, she rose before dawn, her hands calloused and her body weary. Yet she would greet the sun with a smile. "Today, I've brought home some dried fish. Tomorrow we'll have a feast," she'd say, patting his head. Her son, though young, understood the sacrifices she made. He helped in every way he could, fetching water, gathering firewood, and sweeping their tiny home. Despite the villagers' criticism and cruel remarks, she remained steadfast. When asked why she had taken in an orphan boy, she would only smile and say, "He needed someone. Now he's my family." When the boy was old enough to attend school, she made sure he did, even if it meant eating less herself to save money for his books and uniforms. Every achievement he earned in school brought her immeasurable pride. One day, as he clutched a new set of clothes she had worked tirelessly to buy, he hugged her tightly and promised, "One day, I'll make enough money so you'll never have to struggle again." She smiled softly, brushing his tears away. "Just live a good life, my boy. That's all I need." Years passed and the son grew into a determined young man. His hard work and sharp mind earned him a full scholarship to a prestigious university in the city. On the morning of his departure, the woman prepared a small bundle of food, some sweet potatoes, a few eggs, and everything she could spare. "Take care of yourself," she said, her voice trembling as she handed him the bundle. "I'll be waiting for the day you come back." "I'll come back for you, I promise," the son vowed, tears streaming down his face. The city was a world of dazzling lights and relentless challenges, But Sun worked tirelessly, balancing his studies and part-time jobs. He sent what little money he could back to the woman, though she saved it all in a small box, whispering, "This is for his future." Years of hardship paid off when he graduated with top honors and secured a position at a leading tech company. His brilliance soon led him to start his own company, a decision fraught with setbacks. But he persevered, and his small startup eventually blossomed into a technological empire. Despite his success, he began to distance himself from the woman who had raised him. He feared that his humble origins would tarnish his polished image. The letters she wrote him became fewer and farther between, often left unanswered. In the village, the woman continued to live in her tattered home, cherishing old memories and holding on to the hope that her son would one day return. When asked about him, she'd smile faintly and say, "He's busy, but he'll come back." One day, during a grand event to celebrate his company's success, he caught sight of a frail figure standing quietly outside the venue. It was her, clutching a small bundle of handmade gifts. The sight struck him like lightning. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his neglect. Pushing past the crowd, he rushed to her side. "Mother!" he called out, his voice trembling. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "I knew you'd come back." At that moment, surrounded by the glittering facade of his achievements, he realized that true wealth lay in the love and sacrifices of the woman who had saved him. He vowed to never let her feel forgotten again, embracing her with a heart full of gratitude and regret. From that day forward, he ensured she would never have to struggle again, fulfilling the promise he had made as a child. Together they began a new chapter, one defined not by riches, but by the bond that had always been their greatest treasure. If you find this video meaningful, don't forget to give us a like button and click subscribe to receive the latest videos from Life Message. Thank you, everyone.